Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and today we're going to talk about the full moon happening in the sign of Capricorn. So let's get started. Now, full moons bring endings, they bring completions, they bring a culmination of sorts. A full moon is a point where things are coming to a close. It's also a point where the sun and the moon are in opposition, right? So this is where the moon, our emotions, is opposing the sun, our soul. So emotions tend to run pretty high on a full moon, so just be careful about that. That's generally speaking, right? And this one's in the sign of Capricorn. You can see it's in the sign of Capricorn at 1 degree. And Capricorn is a Saturn ruled sign. It's about serious things. It's about dedication. It's about hard work. It's about decisions. It's about discipline. It's about setting things in stone. It's about getting serious, right? So in a nutshell, this is another serious moon we are having. And I say another serious moon because the last moon, which was the new moon in Gemini, was making a challenging aspect, 90-degree angle square with Saturn, which was about 2 weeks ago, right? So we've been in this serious karmic energy since then. And speaking of the new moon that happened 2 weeks ago, this whole month is going to be about that energy square to Saturn. What is that? That is decisions, that is commitments, that is doing the hard things, that is getting things organized, right? Because Saturn asks us to do things that we may not want to do necessarily. It's the hard decisions. It's like you kind of know that this needs to go, or this needs to change, or this needs to end, but you're not quite there to make the decision, right? So Saturn is the planet that comes in and makes you do it. So this whole month is about that because the moon was in a square to Saturn, and this full moon is in the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So it continues, right? That broad energy, that overarching theme of setting things in stone, getting organized, is very highlighted. The second thing I want to talk about connected to Saturn is that it is the planet of karma, right? It's a very karmic planet, and Capricorn is a very karmic sign because Saturn rules sign. And what that means to me is that whenever Saturn is involved or Capricorn is involved, there's a lot of karmic stuff coming up. So this full moon is going to be karmic in nature as well. And this connects me back to the new moon that we had, the new moon in Capricorn that we had in the beginning of the year in Jan, right? We had a new moon in Capricorn and that was square the nodes. And now we have the full moon in Capricorn. And that new moon in Capricorn, I'm going to go back to Jan now, and then I will come back to this. So that new moon in Jan, beginning of the year, Jan 2024, new moon in Capricorn, square the nodes, extremely karmic beginnings. I believe it was Jan 11th. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it was Jan 11th, 2024. So that brought in new beginnings that were karmic, that were destined, that were fated. And with that, it kind of means it just felt like it happened, right? And now we have this full moon. And this one is not in a square to Saturn, but it is in Capricorn, right? So something karmic may be closing out, maybe ending, maybe completing, that we might have really started in Jan also of this year, or not, right? It's not necessary, but it could be connected to Jan of this year. So that's what I wanted to highlight with this moon. The fact that it's in Capricorn, and the fact that the last moon we had in Capricorn, the new moon in Capricorn, was square the nodes, karmic beginnings. The second thing I want to mention about this moon is that it is not by sign, but it is still in a square to Neptune, right? By the time we reach this full moon point, the moon and the sun both would have squared Neptune. This is Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces, right? It's almost entering Aries, but not quite. It's going to hang out here for some time before it enters Aries. And Neptune is the higher realms, right? It's not of this world. It's the higher realms. It's the outer world. It's the it's the world that we can access maybe at certain points, but it's not our reality. So it's the planet of the higher realms, it's the planet of confusion as well, and this is a challenging aspect. Challenging aspect means change, right? So what can happen on this full moon point is that maybe something is coming to a close, or maybe something is ending, or maybe something is completing itself, but there might be an element of confusion regarding this thing, right? Things may be uncertain. Where we are headed into the future may still be a little unclear, right? Because when something ends, in this case the full moon, or something closes out, or something completes itself, a new thing starts, right? Whether something has ended, closed out, whatever it is, something new starts. Even if something has culminated, reached its highest point, it begins to change, it begins to decline, right? So what I'm trying to say is that we're still a little confused and uncertain about things, still a little confused and uncertain about things. So there can be an element of confusion, and with Neptune, the best way to handle Neptune is to surrender, right? And I've thought about this quite a bit. Why do we have to surrender with Neptune, right? We have to surrender with Neptune because we don't understand it. It's not of this reality. It's beyond this reality, right? And we are not able to comprehend fully what Neptune brings. That's why there is surrender, because when we are not fully able to see the grand plan, right, we are seeing with our reality in a way. We're not seeing beyond. That's when we can't comprehend fully. So Neptune is that thing that we can't comprehend fully or see fully if we are limited to our reality. So that's why with Neptune, the best thing to do is surrender and go with the flow. Not try to push things, not try to force things. It's about acceptance, it's about surrender, it's about trying to see the bigger picture, the higher picture, right? Maybe not what's happening immediately, but maybe thinking, okay, in the long run or in the larger scheme of things, why is this happening at this point? So confusion can be there in a nutshell, and the best way is to say, I don't understand it, and with time, with surrender, with acceptance, the clarity will come, because this aspect is pretty much done by this full moon point, right? It's over, but it's still close, so there can be that confusion there. Now, coming back to another thing that I want to mention is the fact that we do have the nodes here at 12 degrees, right? And we have a lot of Cancer energy right now. And as Mercury, Venus, and the Sun move on, right, they will square the nodes. And so will the Moon, right? After this, as it hits 12 degrees of Capricorn, it will actually, as it hits 12 degrees of Capricorn, it will square the nodes as well. So we are in that energy where planets are building up to square the nodes. The moon few hours after this full moon point, and the planets one by one over the next few days, right? So when we have this square to the nodes, a lot of karmic energy is involved, right? A lot of destined energy is involved, because the nodes, these are the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon are very karmic in nature. Also known as Rahu, the north node, and Ketu, the south node, right? These are highly karmic points. They're known as the destiny points. And then we have this moon and Saturn. So again, destiny is at play here. Things are ending, things are changing, things are completing. There can be an element of things seeming out of control, especially with the square to Neptune, because we don't understand. We're still a little confused, we're still a little uncertain. And as the planets begin to square the nodes, that karmic energy will start playing out more and more. So that's another thing I wanted to touch upon. Now, the next thing I want to mention with this moon is that it is making an aspect with Pluto as well, right? Pluto is at 1 degrees of Aquarius, and the moon is, the sun is at 1 degrees of Cancer, right? So this, on this moon, the Pluto is quincunxing the sun, right? And it is making an aspect with the moon as well. And this can bring about transformation, right? We are in transformative times. I keep saying that. But the fact that this moon is aspecting Pluto means the transformation is definitely a part of this energy, right? Definitely a part of this energy. So that's something I wanted to touch upon. And moving on, I will say that few more things I want to touch upon. The first is that between this moon and the next moon, right, the new moon in Cancer, we will have Saturn here retrograde. We will also have Neptune here retrograde, right? Right now, if you look at the chart, we only have Pluto that is retrograde. And we've been in this forward moving energy since the beginning of the year, right? And what that means is that things have happened fast, things have happened fast, right? Things have moved forward quite fast. And now that Saturn and Neptune will retrograde, things will begin to slow down slightly, right? Things will begin to slow down. Retrogrades are a period of review. Retrogrades are a period of revisiting what you've already started in the past. So with these two planets retrograding, energies will begin to slow down more. So this is the time where we start to reflect on what we have worked on for the past almost 6 months. And we still have a lot of direct planets, right? So still a good time to get things done, especially the personal planets are direct: Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So forward moving energy is still present, but maybe a tad bit slower than before. And the next thing so for this moon, I will keep it at this, right? I will just say that we are in the new moon in Gemini energy for the month, right? Which is square to Saturn. Decisions are continuing, hard decisions, getting things organized, getting things set. That's happening, and it will continue till the new moon in Cancer. With this full moon point, we are reaching a point of transformation, karmic changes. We're also reaching a point where the planets will begin to square the nodes. So definitely karmic changes will begin to happen. With the square to Neptune, be mindful, be aware of the confusion. Good time to indulge in creative things, right? Like writing and music and that sort of thing. But yeah, confusion can be there. Now let's talk about the bigger picture a little bit. So keeping in mind the bigger picture, right? The new moon in Gemini, we had a lot of Gemini, right? Everything was here. Now you see there's a lot of Cancer. The sun is there, Venus is there, and Mercury is there. And Cancer is about nourishment. It's about nurturing yourself. It's about safety. It's about security. So these are the things that we must focus on in a certain way, because Capricorn is it's a Saturn ruled sign, right? So it does not, it's not about nurture. It's about hard work. And we do have a lot of energy in Cancer. So what that tells me is that this is the time to maybe take care of oneself a little bit, because there's a lot of Saturn, right? Saturn. And with Saturn, it's going to ask us to work hard and get things done. But at the same time, we need to balance that Saturn, that Capricorn with Cancer, which is about self-care, which is about nourishment, which is about food and safety and security, right? So we must nurture that. And that's that. So I will leave it at this today, keep it a little shorter than usual. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.